It's another day. But now I've got a guitar. Because today we're going to be looking at a new song that's just dropped, and it's surprisingly good. It's by legacy rock band Muse, who I have had just, the utmost respect for throughout my general life. And it's been difficult to be so fond of Muse since they stopped caring about writing good music. That's not strictly true, but certainly there's a lot less interest in the vast amount of music they have written since, let's say, 2012. I would say, well, okay, there's definitely some ambitious things on the album after that, Drones. It's maybe really the simulation theory stuff that things start to get a lot less ambitious on. There are still some things though, still little pockets, individual songs that really work. And this seems like another individual song for this new album. I'm going to turn up my guitar just a little. Oh, that's a little too much. That should do. Okay. Yeah, so what about this then? We will see what we love about it and what's good and what's different. Okay. Just in that beginning, loads of slides, isn't it? It's loads of things going up and down. Some of them converge, or they sort of merge into the same sound after a certain amount of time, or they just drop out. But either way, it goes from this quite complex sound of lots of things sliding all around to then this clearer version as we get towards the end of that sound. We also have a moment of something else at the beginning of the track, which I imagine connects to the previous track, which is not out yet, so we don't know. Just a low bass kind of rumble before that top one comes in super high. You know how this is done. This is good old Matt Bellamy with his little twiddly knob on his guitar, which makes some kind of tone just straight away, and then he twists it and the tone goes down, and it goes down a lot. And they're very distorted sounds, but quite crisp and sort of rich in high frequencies here, not very deep sounding. Yeah, okay, so it's more that the high ones sort of descend and then stop, whereas this one continues on up, giving us a kind of beat. What are we doing there? Is that it? Did I get it straight away first time? Okay, there's a slide to begin with. Oh wow, a bee has just come straight up to me. I hope it finds its way. I think there's a bend there. Yeah, and then that's an open string, that G, which is quite fun. Nice. That could be played somewhere else, I suppose. That could be there. I don't know. Pretty straightforward, but quite fun. Like, constantly moving. We've got a note on each quaver. So it's always moving to a different note, and it's spelling out chords. So we're spelling out B minor there. And then we have this, which is more like, lots of people have been making this connection to Plug-in Baby. Another classic. Another classic in the same key as this. sort of. Although I don't think we get the B minor until the chorus, but that's by the by. Yeah, because it uses this same scale, which is B harmonic minor, basically. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the special note there is that last one there, which is not our standard modal minor. That would be the standard modal minor, but we get that one altered in this. It's very widely used, especially in classical music, where it's almost ubiquitous in minor keys, but it's not very heavily used these days, especially in rock music. It was never really heavily used in rock music, but it's definitely a little bit of a different flavor to what you might expect. A little bit of classical, and then we spell out, well, so if that kind of is spelling out our 5 chord if we're generous. So that's like a B minor to an F sharp major, and then we get this, which is a G major, and then which is clearly an F sharp major. Okay, so the main chords there, we've got B minor, G major, F sharp major. That's chord 1, chord 6, and chord 5. This is classic Andalusian kind of stuff, something like that. Okay, good. Yeah, it all feels very classically Muse so far. Okay, and putting it through a filter, going from that very clear but fuzzy tone, and then changing it with this filter slowly. Again, a classic move. The riff changes somewhat there, but I was paying attention to the bass, which is quite high. It's just on this B, and it's walking up like this, which doesn't really match the chords. It kind of works. Then it changes to the G. So yeah, the riff must change quite a lot. Let's hear it again. Yeah. Not up to the 24th fret there, presumably. Could do, I suppose. But anyway, it's still actually a G chord, but it just holds it longer. So instead of just having and straight into that F sharp, we do something like that. And so we hold that note instead of doing the F sharp thing. So it's got an alteration which sort of prolongs this phrase somewhat. Yeah. Where's that? Nice. Yeah, and the bass there. Moving chromatically up, another very common move from the old Muse songs. So that means that we go from sort of this E minor chord 4 in the key, to more of a secondary dominant chord there with the F or the E sharp in the bass, and then moving to the F sharp, our 5 chord, our dominant chord, on that last set of beats. And yeah, with this at the top as well, which is a tritone. 1 tone, 2 tones, 3 tones. 3 tones in between those 2 notes, and they go very well with that to make a much nicer chord than just them by themselves, which is an F sharp 7. So it's the same as the F sharp, but with an extra added E. And that E sort of pulls against the others and pulls it very specifically really towards that B minor again. This is all really, hundreds of years old harmonic moves really. Everything here could have been written by Mozart. It would be surprising if he played it on a guitar, but it's even possible. So yeah, it's old stuff. It could also have been even older than that, really. It's not not something that is surprising to our ears, at least if we've been brought up in Western musical tradition, I suppose. Anyway, this is all the first 20 seconds. It's nice. I would say the thing we should write down there is not that we like harmonic minor, which no doubt we do, but we like the extension of a given phrase. So extending phrases is a cool thing to do. Making that riff into a longer riff while still keeping a lot of the material from the first time. That's a really fun thing to do. What is that? What is that? Phrases. Lovely. All right, let's get back to it. Yeah, so here then we've gone back to the original riff, and we've got a bass line to go with it. Okay, pretty straightforward, but it gives us that F sharp, which we were missing on that. Okay, so when we went up here, we spelled out all the notes of B minor. We didn't spell out all the notes of F sharp there, so that F sharp there gives us all that we need for that definitely to be an F sharp chord. So not important, but it just gives us that grounding. The drums are also quite fun here, aren't they? We've had a classic sort of dom 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 build up, a dom 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 build up, and then this is more, isn't it? Let's hear it again. Oh no, so that's fun. So instead of having this constant snare backbeat, or where we have it on the 2 and the 4, we have it just later than the 2, and we still get it on that 4. So it's a slightly altered snare backbeat there, and it has quite a lot of punch to it. It sounds like the snare sounds oddly roomy. Everything else is really punchy and forward in the mix, but the snare has a lot of room to it, which is a curious sound. Yeah, and another alteration to that phrase. We just still get that, and then we get a sort of move down of that phrase rather than getting that with the bend up. It's we go down to something slightly more similar between the two chords. Let's hear it one more time. Yeah, with this little twiddle here as well. Yeah, that's lovely. The only slight difference between the two is that the bend size is smaller on the second one. It's just a mini bend, a semitone bend, whereas that one was a full tone bend. Ice cream? Surely not. It's cold. It's cold. Yeah. So now we've lost that main riff because we've got to make space for the vocals, but mostly things are the same. Fewer crash cymbals, so the drums seem more contained on the hi-hat, but we've still got that same snare beat going on. And this bass line has something else on that last one. It's not just dum dum dum. Maybe it was that before. It doesn't really matter. Let's keep going. Crystallize, freeze my blood into diamonds. Yeah. So we like this robotic voice. We've had this before. I guess it's more like a radio transmitter, you know. That's how they sound, isn't it? So it's less of a robot, I suppose, and more of a radio, I guess, what do you call it? Radio, ham radio, a ham radio sound vocal, ham radio. If it's not ham as well, these are just words I've heard. I've never looked this up. Ham radio vocal, that is something that we do like. In moderation. Doesn't have to be every time. Yeah, the melody there sort of has a similar thing going on as in comparison to, hang on, is that right? It sort of has the same thing going on as, yeah, it is as the guitar melody, in that we keep it simple to begin with, and then it gets a little more stuff as we go on. So really straightforward to begin with. Mainly just those two notes. And that's just pentatonic stuff between two notes, flat 3 and the 1. Anyone could write that. Yeah, and then that still has this kind of A-B kind of feel, but it's higher. And then it has this extra bit on the end. Into diamonds. Switching between falsetto there, which is fun. Quite low. Okay, and we've lost that radio kind of sound now. Much cleaner as we go into whatever this new section is. We've also lost the bass. We've lost the bass and the guitar here. We've got a few sort of synthy sounds in the background, and we've got a few extra vocals as well. And the drums are not as in your face either. Let's hear it again. Yeah. So it's almost like those triadic vocals that I talk about every bloody week, twice every week on the Aurora streams I do. So his melody's moving down scale-wise like that. And we've got harmony vocals moving down with it. Like this. Right? So it starts with like a B minor chord. And then an A major, and then another B minor, but it's in a different arrangement because now he's singing the middle note of that B minor, and then the A major, but again in a different arrangement. So it's just two different chords, but because the voices are moving together and matching those chords each time, we get this sort of ever-evolving dynamic between them. It's a really powerful way to write backing vocals, or vocals in general. It is, tried and true. It's definitely not any original idea, but we do love it. So let's put it on. Triadic. That's not a suggestion. Vocal harmonies. Harmonically, other than that, here we're still on the same kind of chords that we were on, mainly in the other section, but we've now got the G as our first one, and then the B minor comes after. Also, because we've got that A kind of thing happening here, it feels more like a modal thing rather than the harmonic minor that we've had in the previous section. So there is a change of feel in that respect. But there, we get a little hint of the A sharp there back in the F sharp chord. Cryogen! Good old falsetto. Up on a B. Nothing extreme really, but it's just nice how everything sort of stops for that individual moment. Yeah, again, a tried and tested thing. I'm not in love with it. Yeah. So we've gone really for the bass riff at the beginning is now our sort of guiding force. And we're really just doing that with power chords on the guitar to bolster that that particular pattern. What in the world is that sound? Dunno. Probably someone cutting grass outside, I suppose. Nitrogen and cryogen, is it? I don't know. As cold as nitrogen, that makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. Lots of cold things here. Starting with ice cream is bold. Very funny, very funny. I don't know, yeah, Muse have never been the lyrical wonders that people often look for in musicians these days, but there's some funny things in there. Encouraging our children to be mean, or whatever that one is from Supremacy. That's really a funny line. Always makes me smile. Yeah, so this is the same pattern of chords as the beginning, or at least it's very close. I think there might have been like a D, which I wasn't expecting, but we've got that secondary dominant in there again. That's such a classic Muse kind of thing. In fact, why not? Let's write it on secondary dominants. We love secondary dominants. And what the idea there is that in a key you have one dominant chord which really has this very specific feeling of pull or push towards the tonic chord, which is like the calm chord, as we hit just like straightforward. We've reached our destination. This isn't suggesting we go anywhere else, but the dominant chord is really like, oh, you better go back there. But if we have a secondary dominant, this is suggesting that we go to another chord. This one particularly here is suggesting we go to the dominant chord, so it's the dominant of the dominant, so that we get that kind of thing. But you can get secondary dominants in loads of different ways. Like, for instance, another common one might be this one that suggests we go to the relative minor, although normally we would do that in major. And then we get Sam Smith or whatever it might be. Sitting in the morning sun. That's another place where it's used, but in that one it actually doesn't resolve that way. It goes, so we play around with chords in a really interesting way and sitting on the dock of the bay. But that's irrelevant. That's not what we're doing here. We've just got a secondary dominant which resolves in the way we'd expect it to. That's fun. Yeah, I guess the melody here does a similar thing to what happens in the first riff, but we don't get two repeats straight away. We get them sort of later. So we get cryogen, I can never da, and then we get cryogen again. And then we have a more complex thing on the end. So we're really focusing on that sort of last set of chords, which is something like this. And we're really focusing on getting those in that particular order as the sort of focal point. The other parts, that's sort of like catchy, short, straightforward stuff, but we've got this sort of more wordy, interesting bit on the end that builds tension and drama in an exciting way. And here's our riff again. So it's the second version, it's not the Presumably we just had that one at the beginning for some extra excitement. It's nice though that we had two different versions rather than them being exactly the same. That's really nice. Interesting that Europa suddenly had a big space to it. That was a curious idea. This is pretty much another verse, isn't it? It sounds very similar to the previous one. I'm not sure there's anything added, really. Maybe there is. Some synths coming in here. Just in the synth in the background. And this time we don't have quite the same melody there ending. So to fit different words, it's not just a repeat of this. It's something. So we come down again after that higher note. Yeah, it's just different. I don't think it's more exciting. Loneliness, she left me trembling. Yeah, I guess I didn't mention much about the melody in this section previously. We've gone, I guess this was in the previous section, this kind of punchy guitar part. But it sounded more like strings because it was warped in a kind of way. Here it's a bit closer and a bit more straightforward. And it's just doing that on these two different chords, the G and the B minor. But yeah, the melody starts da, 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 which is very bury it. I won't let you bury it. It's the same thing, but just in a different key. Da, 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 da. That's kind of nice. You just get a brief anticipation da, da, before we change chord. It's just nice. In a polar desert wilderness. And I guess the thing here, it's again tried and tested thing, but da, 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 da. Each word has two notes to it. Polar, or each syllable. Polar desert wilderness, until wilderness, as we're moving down there. Polar, right? Which is fun. And then that happens the same way as before. There's another thing that does that as well, isn't there? Tell me what it is. I'm breaking. Same kind of thing. Maybe a little bit more heavy on the guitars this time. Yeah, the vocal harmonies are a little bit lost because there's this heavy sound which is taking up a lot of the space. The guitars are really buzzy, but also the vocals are a little bit of this. So really only the main one is coming through quite clearly, and the harmony ones, you can sort of hear the notes that they're going for, but they're not so clear, and there are moments where they really duck under everything else. This girl is nitrogen? Is that what it is? Oh, it's good. Yeah, it's nice how he's got this balance, I would say balance, between the falsetto notes, Cryogen, and then his lower voice, I'm reaching over. It's almost in the same range, but it's just a very different tone. I guess joined together in the radio production, right? So in that, it makes them sound more similar than they would normally, because Cryogen might well be a lot weaker. Do we like falsetto? I think we love falsetto, don't we? We love falsetto. We love distorted bass as well. We have to put that in. That's just a must with Muse. It's always distorted bass. Nothing wrong with that. It sounds so thick and full and exciting. We should probably also put on that drum thing, but how should we write that down? Delayed backbeat seems a little too vague. Maybe we'll put 2 and backbeat because it's on 1 and 2 and 2 and backbeat. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's just that little bit different to the more standard thing, so it's great. So much more on the ride cymbal here, and I definitely caught a tresillo in there as well, which is nice. It gives it a little bit of, more of that sort of flamenco-y feeling, I suppose, more maybe South American or Spanish influenced, which we've already had a bit of that in the harmony. It is this kind of flamenco / classical guitar influence that makes that. Oh, I went back a bit far there, sorry. Yeah, there's one other thing about that chord sequence which I've been playing but not explaining. After the subdominant, secondary dominant, dominant, but we've got the sustained 4th in there rather than the 3rd. This is another absolutely classic Muse thing. So we come down, yeah, it's used all over the place. It's almost like a 6/4. But it's not, it's different to that. We've got some bluesy notes in here, haven't we? Quite a big change in harmony, but we haven't changed key or anything like that. We've just based it around the 4 chord. We've only used the 4 chord in passing here, going to that secondary dominant and then going to the 5 chord, the dominant chord. So starting this section on that E minor does feel like a big change. And yeah, that's the flattened 5th. We love it. We love blues notes. Blues notes are great, especially in music that you don't expect them in. And these days, I don't really expect them in Muse. They do definitely come in some Muse. I can't tell you off the top of the head which ones they might be. But I mean, I would guess Falling Down, because Falling Down is very blues inspired. There are plenty others though. It's just that slight darkness rather than it's which is so satisfying. Sorry, I keep going back so far. It's really nice, the drop as well, on the beginning beat of a bar, right? We don't normally get them on the beginning unless it's going for the whole bar. Normally it happens just before the beginning of a bar. So that first beat drop, I think I have to write love for that one too. Interesting. We're finding quite a lot of cool things in here. And yeah, the tick-tick-tick-tick, that sort of ride filigree, but it's not all on the ride as well, which is fun. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, it seems like some of it is on the ride and then occasionally we hear a hi-hat. Maybe it's been recorded on both and they've been layered on top of each other. That's fun. So we get a moment there of a new mode, Phrygian mode, as we go up to C there. C is not in B minor. So that's another lovely thing. Modal interplay, we love modal interplay. modal intercourse. I've never called it before. I might start. It's sort of more fun, isn't it? We need to make music theory a bit more sexy. So altering the melody there, so it's not keeping down in the place it has been before. Going into the falsetto. Again, a little more sexy, isn't it? It's a little sweeter on the ears. Another drop. Kind of interesting. Basically, this is based around the stuff that we would hear in the pre-chorus, so that might be what it's going for, but it has quite a different feel. We still have the chugging, chug 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 chug, but again it sounds more like strings. Maybe it is strings, but they're drenched in a lot of reverb, and we've changed acoustic quite a lot. We've made this much bigger, more sort of fitting with this album cover kind of thing. Just big spacey sound. We get two melodies there, da, 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 which is nice, and has that major 7 on the G chord there, and that. Oh, and that's another Muse song, isn't it? That's crazy. I need removing all the reaction. Give us euphoria. Wow, I know these guys pretty well. Yeah, so they love that particular feel, and to be honest, so do I. It's the sharp 11, and it fits in the key. It's the only real place that does in a key. So milk it for all it's worth. And there it is again. So now this is the pre-chorus proper, after we've had that kind of spacey interlude. But we've lost the string kind of sound, and now we've just got these thick, maybe they're guitars, maybe they're synths, just this buzzy kind of sound. Yeah, interesting drums there. I don't remember it being like that, but it's kind of this oddly sort of syncopated kind of feel. Emphasis on the offbeats there. That's curious. Oh, it felt like a big build-up, didn't it? And there's an anticlimax. I think we have to put anticlimaxes on here. Anticlimax. Oh wow. Okay. Someone call the doctor. I can't write anymore. I can never cry again. That's such a funny line, isn't it? Cryogen is cry again, isn't it? I can never cry again. That's so funny. Oh man. Nice. So a little bit of an extension there. Let's hear that one more time. Yeah, it doesn't have any more time in it, but we come this girl is nitrogen. So instead of girl is nitrogen, cryogen, we have this girl is nitrogen. Yeah, and that's lovely. Really fits that chord very nicely. And then in this one, it's a suspended 9th. So it resolves eventually up, and it resolves up. So we're pushing that falsetto even higher. It does sound a little old manny on some of these. I'm pushing over. It's got that sort of strange depth to it. I don't very much like, and I think it benefits from being behind the distortion wall in some way there. But yeah, I mean, still, it's quite satisfying, and it's nice how the vocal sort of changes to like a full, just straight sine wave kind of thing, or sawtooth wave, I guess. Ooh, it's so buzzy. Yeah, so I have been doing that chord sequence a bit wrong. But all of the things I've mainly talked about have been right, but it really changes. It does the classic Max Martin thing. Let's take case in point, Baby One More Time. We go, my loneliness is killing me, and I must confess, I still believe. Okay, so there we've got sort of like this mainly based around minor, C minor kind of thing, and then in the third part we get, when I'm not with you I lose my mind, give me a sign. And we spend a lot longer on this chord than we did. Is that true? I must confess, still believe. Not really, but the way that we approach it, give me a sign, feels much more like a move towards that major feel. And we do the same thing here from this. It feels like we really reach a different kind of feeling for a moment there on that D. It's like, a little bit brighter, and then we bring it back down, and then we're back where we were. Okay, so in that third quarter is seemingly where it's good to have that brightness come in a dark song, I suppose. And this time we get the same held note, but we resolve it downwards, and we actually stay on it longer. Yeah, does it interfere with that riff? Let's hear that again. Yeah, kind of, because it's here, and that riff is going all over that bit. That's a curious decision. Did you hear that? That's funny. People have complained to some degree for a while, for a very long time, about Matt Bellamy's breath sounds, which used to be, I think, much more extreme. This kind of thing happening. I think that's power. I think that's exciting. And it might be stress on the vocals to some degree, but I think it sounds exciting. But yeah, we haven't heard any of those in here, have you? But interesting that we just get a kind of breath sound in there. A much less strained breath, so I don't know, it's a fun feel. In fact, let's go out on a limb and let's put breath sounds. Again, the ASMR crowd is pleased by this one. Breath sounds. Yeah. Good. Okay, change up of the rhythm here, right? We've got snare, 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 snare on every beat. So it has this kind of, it almost feels like it's going double time, because we've been going da, except not da, ba, ba, da, ba, ba, so then going ba, da, 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 almost feels like we're going twice as fast. It's not really a double time feel, so I'm not going to write that down, but I am going to write snare on every beat. We like snare on every beat. Not, again, all the time, but we do like it. Snare on every beat. If it goes all the time, that's quite strong, but have a go at What Makes You Think You're the One from Fleetwood Mac. That one kind of has snare on every beat, and that doesn't sound too imposing. It does sound a bit ridiculous, but it doesn't sound too imposing. So this is about the point where we've basically finished this song, because we've had our verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus with some riffs, yeah, and then we've had our sort of bridge, which was broadly pre-chorus stuff. Oh no, it wasn't. It did have its own section, didn't it? So that's fine. We had the bridge, we had then pre-chorus and chorus again, and then we have our outro riff. That should be a done song, shouldn't it? What do we have after this? On every offbeat. That's funny. It's not, I would say, good, but what is quite good here is this the dark, low Phrygian riff again, which doesn't sound so aggressive when I'm playing it on this lovely twangy dry guitar, but it sounds very good on that heavy distorted guitar. This is actually another sort of quintessential old Muse thing, which is more part of their live sound than it is of their recordings, but it goes back to, you know, Yes Please and Ashamed, and Micro Cuts, all these old ones, which don't necessarily care too much about being hits. They have this breakdown moment where just the instrumental takes over and we get a cool riff, whatever it might be. Yeah, the Micro Cuts one is great, isn't it? Yeah, I really like that. Because it just changes the song entirely, but it keeps it within that sort of Muse catalogue. So this is happening in the same kind of way. I guess Nights of Sidonia sort of does that as well, doesn't it? But yeah, this it's just so fun to add a new section on the end, which is stonking on its own. But we had a bit of foreshadowing of this, didn't we? Not very much, but it was there earlier. We've got those sliding up sounds as well. Very straightforward drums here. Dum, da, with the hi-hat just on those beats, really clear, letting the guitar take all the interest. Nice that. We've still got the G and the F sharp in there, and in that third time round, so we get the to go with it. Oh, and a bass solo. That's an immediate love. We don't get those very often. Bass solo. Also, we should write down, that looks like falsetto bass solo. We should write down, man, we're running out of space, aren't we? We should write down a coda, a large coda, new material in coda. No, just big coda. Big coda, big coda, big coda. There we go. Let's keep going. Okay. Not much of a, unless it continues, not much of a bass solo, a few phrases, but nonetheless very exciting. That's fun, because that's basically what's happening there. It's sort of the secondary dominant, but I don't think that that's what the guitars are playing. I think they're just playing a power chord on that same note. The secondary dominant has that note in the bass because it's built as it's the third of the chord, but here we're acting as if that is the root note of the chord. And we just got this chromatic slide. So it's quite discordant by itself. Yeah, you'd get that in maybe like Korn, or something similarly heavy. you know, a lot of metal music would use that kind of thing, probably in a different key. But that's what we get here. We get that, and then instead of resolving, we get that. We get it again, and again, and then we stop on the most discordant of the notes, the most discordant of the chords. That's really a fun idea. Yeah, listen to that. That is proper noise. Oh, we've just lost it. Oh, okay, let's try it. Well, hang on, what's going on? What is going on? Yeah, well, we've got so much noise in there. This is reminiscent of Take a Bow. Woo! Got that in up there. We got those down there. Yeah, we got the F. Oh, okay, so it's actually really pretty much, okay, we've got that up there, but it's that F and that B down here. So that might be what it's doing, but that's no longer a power chord, that's a tritone again, okay? Like we got there, but a different one, a much less contextually making sense one. It really feels like it wants to go somewhere else, but it's stuck, and it's stuck with all these sounds just evolving as the distortion mutates them. It's a really fun way to end. It's sort of anticlimactic, but it's not, because it's just like unexpected rather than actually being a letdown. It doesn't resolve in the way that we might hope it does, but actually I prefer that. So unresolved ending is definitely something to put, and then it just disappears, and that is a little bit of an anticlimax when it changes to just those higher sounds. Unresolved ending. But I mean, that is a good song from Muse. There's still some cheese to it, some things that are less than what they used to do, I would say. And this is coming from someone who is a really big fan, and I'm not saying this as a slight, really, or I'm not saying it to upset anybody, certainly. And if you like the more recent stuff more, fair play. Give me some good reasons why. I would be really interested to hear some good reasons why the latest Muse is better or is on par with the older Muse. But you know, I am Black Holes and Revelations all the way through. I love the first to some degree 5 albums, and Hullabaloo, and it's just after that I no, to be honest, I'm pretty hot on the Second Law as well. I'm a big fan of these guys, and this feels like one that lives up to what I would hope they sound like as a fan. It might not well live up to what other people as non-fans would like, but I'm pretty satisfied. Anyway, that's that. Hiya! See you soon. Have a great day and enjoy yourself. Bye.